Has Charlie Crist accomplished anything while in Congress? What makes you different from Charlie Crist? I think we've talked about it a little bit, but Charlie Crist votes against the president about 70% of the time. 75% of the time. He votes with Nancy Pelosi 90% of the time. And just an example, Pelosi votes against the president about 80% of the time. So we're talking about someone who just doesn't represent our voice in Washington. That's what this really comes down to. Charlie Crist was the governor of our state, and he was vying for the position of being the vice presidential candidate on the Republican side. And yet somehow now he's part of the Democrat leadership on the political side, the DCCC's leadership team on the political arm. So I don't know how this happens, that someone goes from being a Republican to an independent to a Democrat. But what I do know is that someone who is part of Democratic leadership means that is someone who is helping AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar, and Nancy Pelosi's fan pack get elected. And that's just not something that I would ever support. So that's where he and I are different. As I said, I believe in standing on your principles. If that's, if you can explain to people your principles, people may be, in disagreement with you on it, but at least they'll appreciate that you are honest with them. And that's how I've always been. So I'm very different than Charlie Crist. I'm certainly not a career politician, nor do I plan to be, as evidenced by supporting term limits.